Welcome to Arirang Live. It's 4 p.m. here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. In just a minute, we're going to cross over to the latest briefing from the South Korean health authorities on the COVID-19 outbreak. This is an additional briefing on top of the two regular daily briefings following an emergency ministerial meeting on the crisis this afternoon. South Korea confirmed 79 new COVID-19 cases on Thursday. The numbers largely come from the recent cluster infection at an e-commerce company's distribution center in the city of Bucheon. And that's why the country has seen more than 70 new cases for the first time in more than 50 days. In fact, over 80 patients have been confirmed to be linked with the distribution center. The government and local authorities are making all-out efforts to test anyone who could have been exposed to the virus linked to the center. More than 4,000 people are connected to the outbreak, and as of Thursday afternoon, tests on over 60% of them have been completed. And meanwhile, Gyeonggi-do province has also shut down the distribution center in Bucheon City for 2 weeks from Thursday. The briefing is about to start, so let's take a listen.
We are also joined by Mr. Yoon Tae-ho for the briefing. We have sign language translation available. First of all, here is Health Minister Bang Neung-woo with the outcomes of the meeting. We held the COVID-19 emergency meeting, and my name is Health Minister Bang Neung-woo. And this morning, we have seen a cluster infection in the metropolitan area, and we held a ministerial meeting presided over by Prime Minister Chung Se-kyun, and here are the outcomes. In relation to the Bucheon Logistics Center, as of 11 a.m. Today, we have 82 confirmed cases linked to this case, and of them, 63 are the employees of there, and 19 are all the contacts of these people. And we have conducted diagnostic testings of more than 4,000 people and visitors who are working there. And we are almost in the completion stage. However, we are still very worried about a possible infection. We are currently exerting our full efforts to trace down the contacts. However, there are large possibility that these infections are already spread throughout the society. And there are also sporadic outbreaks of the infections with sources unknown. And given these circumstances, we are seeing a series of infections in the metropolitan area, and we have a high risk of possible and potential spreaders within the region. Therefore, the government is committed to conducting massive and extensive diagnostic testings, but we believe the following 1 to 2 weeks will be a very crucial moment. In particular, last week we had the resumption of schools for high school seniors, and yesterday we have a resumption of offline classes for many other students. We had great concerns on a public level. However, we were very delighted to see many students with happy faces to meet their teachers and friends again. The metropolitan area is seeing a great cluster infection, and if we are unable to curb this infection could lead to a possible outbreak among schools and thus lead to a halt in the offline classes. The government will continue to carry out offline classes as scheduled, and we will make sure that there are no further cluster infections. And starting from tomorrow until the 14th of June, for the next 2 weeks, we will be intensifying our quarantine measures in the metropolitan area. As for the public area, all of the public multi-use facilities will be suspended of operation until the 14th of June. These include parks, theaters, and multi-use facilities, including public museums, and they will become to an halt of operations, and all of the events that are carried out and hosted by the local governments will be halted as well. And the public authorities, we will implement a flexible working hour and in order to reduce the clusters and the congestions of people in a given time. On top of this, as for the entertainment establishments in the metropolitan area, we advise you to suspend operations until June 14th. And if you have to operate, please comply with the quarantine measures very strictly. We are also providing similar suggestions and administrative orders for the private school academies as well. And we will be putting in place a possible and extension to the ban of gathering on the nightlife establishments that have already been put in place in the metropolitan area. We also ask for the participation from the public. Until the 14th of June, we ask you to avoid social gatherings and avoid using multi-use facilities, including clubs, bars, and restaurants. COVID-19 can resurge at any given time, and please be aware of this, and please strictly comply with quarantine measures, including washing of your hands and keeping distancing. And if you are in the high-risk groups, including those elderly who are aged over the age of 65, pregnant women, persons with chronic illnesses, you should avoid any poorly ventilated and closed space frequented by many people. We have some recommendations for business establishments in the metropolitan area as well. We ask you to continue to use and utilize the measures of flexible working hours going forward, and please designate an employee in charge of quarantine so that your employees could make sure that they wear face masks and they keep distancing. We have also recommendations for the religious centers. We would like to thank you once again for taking part in our quarantine efforts. However, for the next 2 weeks, please comply with our quarantine measures, including distancing among the participants. And as we have seen great cluster infections during the past 2 weeks, please avoid from any visitings, any gatherings. And as for the high-risk facilities, including hospitals, nursing homes, and nursing hospitals, we ask you to refrain from accepting visitors, and please wear face masks and disinfect the area on a regular basis. In order to curb the further spread of the COVID-19 in the metropolitan area, the following 2 weeks is very crucial. If the outbreak increases going forward, we will have to return back to social distancing. Going to school has been resumed for our students after a few months, and they will be deprived of their happiness of meeting their friends and people and their teachers. And this calls for the dedication and the sacrifice and the efforts of the adults. So we ask the many of the members of the public in all corners of life, please participate in our measures going forward. Just as you did during the general elections, please show your high level of civil awareness that has been garnering global attention. The government will also exert our full efforts to carry out epidemiological investigation and quarantine efforts. Thank you very much.
지금부터 질의응답 시간을 가지겠습니다. 구체적인 통계 등에 대한
There you have it, just a wrap-up from the briefing. Following the Bucheon cluster infection, South Korean government will intensify quarantine measures in the metropolitan city area, and that includes a suspending operation of entertainment facilities for the next 2 weeks until June 14. We'll bring you more details on the briefing in our upcoming newscast at 5 p.m. Korea time. Goodbye.